Right now in South Korea, there is a very specific, very brutal kind of war happening on the neon-lit sidewalks of Seoul, and it has nothing to do with politics or economics in the way you'd expect. Imagine for a second that you're walking down a street in Hongdae, the absolute heart of the youth scene, where the bass from the clubs is so loud you can feel it in your teeth. You see a woman in her mid-30s dressed to the nines, looking like she just stepped out of a high-end salon. She's confident, she's successful, and she's used to being the center of attention in her hometown. She walks up to the entrance of a trendy club expecting the red carpet treatment, but instead she hits a brick wall. That wall is a 20-something guy with a headset and a look of pure, unadulterated contempt. He doesn't even look at her ID before he tells her she's not coming in. This is what they call the entrance ban, and it is the moment where someone's carefully crafted self-image crashes into the cold, hard reality of the market. It's like walking into a luxury boutique with a coupon that expired 10 years ago and screaming at the clerk because they won't give you a free bag. It is hilarious, it is pathetic, and it tells us everything we need to know about youth in this corner of the world. But why would anyone actually demand to be let into a place where they are clearly not wanted? Why would a grown woman with a career and a life spend her Friday night arguing with a kid who probably still lives with his parents? To understand that, we have to look at the weirdly aggressive world of online communities like the women's generation. Think of it as a digital bubble where every member is told she is a queen regardless of reality. In this bubble, aging is treated like a choice, and beauty is something you can just manifest through willpower. These women have been fed a steady diet of validation that tells them they are the main characters of the universe. So, when they step out into the real world and realize that a club in Hongdae doesn't care about their feelings or their digital status, they experience a total system failure. They aren't looking for a fun night out, they are looking for a hit of youth. It is a form of social vampirism where they try to consume the energy of a younger crowd, just to prove to themselves that they haven't expired yet. They want to be the product on the shelf, but they refuse to admit the store has a strict shelf life policy. This isn't about music or dancing, it's about a desperate clawing need to stay relevant in a capitalist machine that only values what is brand new. So, you might ask, why is the guy at the door being such a jerk? Why does he have that look on his face like he just smelled something rotten? Well, that's where the cold logic of the business comes in. In the Seoul nightlife scene, there is a concept called water quality. It sounds gross because it is. Basically, the people on the dance floor are the scenery. If the scenery looks old or tired, the big spenders will leave and go to the club next door. The guys at the expensive tables buying thousands of dollars worth of champagne. The guy at the door, the merchandiser, his entire paycheck depends on keeping that water pure. He isn't being mean for the sake of it, he's performing a quality control check on the human inventory. If he lets in what they call the chicken co-op elements, basically anyone who looks like they belong in a parent-teacher meeting, rather than a rave, he's effectively devaluing the brand. He sees a 35-year-old woman trying to dress like a 20-year-old, and all he sees is a threat to his commission. It's a brutal, transactional world where your value is calculated in seconds based on your age, your weight, and how well your face fits the current trend. But how did it get this bad? Why is South Korea so obsessed with this specific kind of gatekeeping? It all comes down to the way the society has turned youth into a commodity. We're talking about a culture that has perfected the art of the baby face. You have surgery, you have skin clinics, and you have apps that can turn a tired face into a masterpiece. In half a second, this creates a massive disconnect. People start to believe their own lies. They look in the mirror after a 3-hour session at a clinic and think they can pass for 25. Then, they travel from a smaller, more relaxed city like Gwangju to the high-stakes battlefield of Seoul. And they realize that the standards are completely different. In a smaller pond, they were the big fish. In Seoul, they are just another person who stayed too long. The irony is that the same women who are now crying about age discrimination were cheering for these rules 10 years ago. When they were the ones getting in, they built the cage, and now they're upset that they're on the outside looking in. So what happens when these women actually get what they want? What if they manage to sneak in or find a club that doesn't have such a strict policy? This is where the hypocrisy really starts to shine. They claim they want equality and respect, but the second they get inside, they start acting like gatekeepers. They look down on anyone who doesn't meet their specific standards of cool. The fallout from being rejected is even crazier. These online forums are filled with stories of women who say their self-esteem was murdered because a bouncer didn't like their look. They talk about it like it's a human rights violation. But think about how ridiculous that is. Your entire sense of self-worth is so fragile that it can be destroyed by a guy in a dark alley. It shows that for this group there is no internal value, everything is external. They have traded their dignity for a chance to stand in a sweaty room with loud music. And when they are denied that chance, they have nothing left to hold on to. You might think this is just a weird Korean thing, but it's actually a more extreme version of what happens everywhere. Whether it's an exclusive club in New York or a guest list only party in London. The meat market is universal. The only difference is that in the West, they usually give a polite excuse, like the club is full or you're not wearing the right shoes. In Korea, they just give you that look of contempt and tell you that you're too old. It's more honest, which makes it more painful. It's a direct reflection of a society that has no room for aging gracefully. You are either at the peak of your beauty or you are invisible. There is no middle ground. There is no respect for the wisdom or the status that comes with getting older. You are just a coupon that has passed its expiration date and the world is moving on to the next customer. If we look at where this is all going, the future looks pretty dark and honestly, kind of hilarious. We are heading toward a world where your access to social spaces might be determined by an AI scan of your skin elasticity. Imagine having to prove your age via blockchain just to get a drink. We might see the rise of underground clubs where people wear masks of their younger selves just to feel included. It's a total farce because it's a refusal to accept the one thing we can't change, time, instead of building spaces where people of all ages can enjoy themselves. The culture is doubling down on segregation. We are creating a society divided by aesthetic grades, where your social standing is tied to how well you can mimic a teenager. The ultimate mockery of this whole situation is that these women are fighting for something that isn't even that great. They are screaming at the door of a club that is loud and overpriced, and filled with people who don't actually like them. They are so focused on the rejection that they don't realize they've outgrown the room. It's like a person who graduated college 10 years ago trying to break into a dorm room to party with freshmen. It's not a victory if you get in, it's just sad. They could be spending their time in places that actually value who they are now. But their pride won't let them. They want to be the exception to the rule. They want to be the one who beat the system. But the system is built on the fact that eventually everyone loses. The sand is slipping through their fingers and they are blaming the sand for being disrespectful. In the end, this whole Hongdae gatekeeping saga is just a mirror reflecting desperation of a generation that refuses to grow up. It's a story about the collision between a digital fantasy and a physical reality that doesn't care about your feelings. The clubs will keep their doors shut, the MDs will keep their contemptuous looks, and the forums will keep filling up with tears and rage. And while all that drama is happening, the sun is going to rise. And everyone is going to be one day older, whether they were allowed onto the dance floor or not. The real tragedy isn't being banned from a club, it's losing your dignity while trying to get into one. It's the pathetic sight of someone begging for a seat at a table that was never meant for them. If you can't see the irony in that, then maybe you're already standing in line with an expired coupon. Fuel the truth at dating in Korea. Support the structure. Stay safe in the lounge.